My first guest joins us via the phone, Frank Darras, who's America's top insurance attorney. And summer is vacation and recreation time. But how do we protect ourselves against having fun? You know, when we talk about vacation and recreation, I think most people don't even give a thought to, well, how do we protect ourselves against recreation? But my goodness, when you saw what happened to those two kids from Cincinnati who were vacationing down in Panama Beach, Florida, and decided, let's go parasailing. If the line snaps, that parasail is a kite, you see, and it just sailed off into the wind. They hit that first building with a great deal of force, and there's no protection at all. I mean, none. Then they hit a second building and crashed into the parking lot adjacent to that second building with a great deal of force. It was not a pretty sight, Frank.
And unfortunately, it wasn't the first time that this particular company had suffered from either gross negligence, and you hope that for the kids because, you know, minors, these kids were 17, they're not adults. You're at the mercy of the driver of the boat. The parasailer doesn't have any ability to go up or down or left or right or make a determination as to who's driving where. What in the world got the driver of that parasailing boat that close to condominiums that these kids suffered that traumatic brain injury? I mean, that was horrific. Typically, when you go parasailing, we all have to sign a waiver. And think about the last time that you did that. You went jet skiing, you went parasailing, you went snow skiing, and you're all excited. You're on vacation or you're getting ready to go do it. And the last thing you're thinking about is, hey, that piece of paper that's got all that fine print, and I mean it is fine print, that they ask us to sign, most of us don't do anything but look for the line, and usually have the big X there for us so we know where to sign. And we've signed away our right to sue the operator or the owners for their negligence. And companies have gotten very, very good, Gary, at drafting bulletproof waivers for these types of accidents. Or, in this case, as we read through the story about the girls, they said, oh, gee, this act of God, the wind, is what caused the problem, and gee whiz, it was unexpected, because an act of God is something that gives legally the owners an excuse not to have to pay. So this was a tragedy. It was a reminder. It put the spotlight on summertime accidents, and it's important for all of us to be aware of that sheet of paper they stick in front of us right before we want to do something really exciting. There are states across the country that are real tough on waiver, tough on the consumer. You had an opportunity. You had the privilege. Nobody rushed you. It was your choice to scurry through that document. Nobody said, sign it without reading it. Nobody pulled it away from you so you couldn't read the fine print. You know, I'm reading about ski season resort passes. How many people go to Vermont or, you know, go to a ski resort and buy a season pass? Last year, we saw some resorts across the country that want you as part of your season pass. It says, I waive liability for all of my past or present injuries at this facility.
Well, that pretty much covers life in general.
From the beginning of time until now. So, I mean, that's just snuck in to your season pass. I mean, when I saw the paragraph in the waiver, it was buried in the middle, so obviously it wasn't prominently displayed, but there it was right in the middle. I waive all liability for my past and present injuries against this resort. Okay, there you go. They're getting pretty extreme in terms of these waivers. So be careful, be smart. If somebody is grossly negligent, if someone has an indifference to our care and safety, obviously minors aren't held to the same standard as us adults. So it's important that we look at it, and that's the beauty of health, wealth, and happiness. We try and enlighten our listeners so that they don't make fatal mistakes.